Have you tried diet after diet without finding long-term success? Well, believe it or not, it's not you. So many people think they know what they need to do to get healthy, but there's so much misinformation out there that many of us are sabotaging our health goals without even knowing it. Hi, I'm Carrie, a wife, mom, educator, and certified nutrition coach. After being frustrated by dieting and all the confusion out there about what actually works, I decided to figure it out. And what I discovered on my journey challenged everything I thought I knew about nutrition. And the solution is actually much simpler than you realize. So now, I'm on a mission to disrupt everything you think you know about nutrition too. Welcome to the Diet Disruptors Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Disruptive Nutrition's Trifecta Transformation. If you are really ready to see different results, you have to do something different. Our invite-only exclusive program is unlike anything you've ever experienced before. Think of it as nutrition and life coaching thrown together with unwavering targeted support, personalized programming, and a way to finally organize, well, your entire life. Because if we can't do something forever, we shouldn't be doing it now. So we have to teach you how to show up differently for yourself in ways you likely haven't ever done before. We don't tell you what to eat. We teach you how to fuel your body in the way that it needs. We don't tell you what to do. We show you, coach you, and support you to make sure it works for your life, your schedule, for your goals. But teaching you how to eat isn't enough because we know it's our thoughts and our beliefs that dictate our actions. If you don't take this journey of self-awareness with us, you won't recognize your triggers and your mindsets that might be holding you back. The relationship you have with your body, with food, and with your value all stem from your beliefs and what you tell yourself. If we don't support you in that part of your journey, knowing how to eat will never be enough to make lasting change. And let's face it, life is crazy and we can't always control our circumstances. Busy women tend to put themselves last when the chaos ensues, and we end up back where we started, frustrated, defeated, and tired. While you may be feeling motivated at one point, experience reminds us that motivation doesn't last, and eventually we just give up when things get too hard. That's why with our Trifecta Transformation, we will teach you how to keep going even when the motivation wanes. And we do that really well. We have a saying around here, you can't always control your circumstances, but you can control your response. And we show you how to do just that. Our success rate is high, and that's because what we teach is right. It's simple and it's transformational. But it's also because we only invite those who we believe are truly committed and ready to make the change. So if you are interested, go to our website at disruptivenutrition.com and book a free call with a coach today to see if this approach is a good fit for you. Well, hey there, Diet Disruptors. Carrie here, and another episode, another time where I get to share all the things that are in my heart. It's like social media, all the things where you get like this much time. I struggle with that. I struggle with being concise anyway, but like, ask me, I was just yesterday at a event and somebody asked me what I did. And I said, I'm a nutritionist. And it's like, what we do is so different than what is out there for anybody else, like in any other realm. And how do you just share that in like a, what do you do kind of question? So, then there's just social media, and that's still like, I gotta get a whole bunch of thoughts in under a minute. And that feels very stressful. Like I can't do that either. It's very hard. So I love doing this show every week because it allows me to get it all out there in terms of how things are different here over at Disruptive Nutrition. So if you are joining me live, say hello to me. We stream in our Diet Disruptor Squad Facebook group. If you are not in that group, you got to get in there. We are in YouTube under Diet Disruptive Nutrition and anywhere you can find a podcast. And if you're in the podcast listening along, please let us know what you think. Put a review in because It matters. I want to hear from you and how I can continue to help you evolve in your journey towards living your optimal health. I always say when you get to your optimal health, you get to your optimal weight, but so many of us keep going for the weight piece and we compromise the health. And so that's what we're all about here. So, as a nutritionist and behavior specialist, I am deep into not just what we need to do for our body, but why. And so today's episode, what I'm really going to unpack is the why we're doing what we're doing. It's going to help us to be able to actually get massive clarity on what we should be doing. Have you ever watched one of those crew crime like shows, or I don't know, in my TikTok feed, it's like I get one of three things. I get comedians, I get Dave Ramsey, and I get these like true crime drama things, like a little mini documentary about what happened, this person, and what was the crime and what was the motive and were they guilty. So it got me thinking about the word motive. If you're watching me live or listening and you can comment, put in motive in the chat or in the comments, because that's what we're going to discuss today. I've never actually done anything around the word motive, although we do talk a lot about our why. But as I thought about the word motive, because of what was in my TikTok feed around one of these crew crime things, I thought about the fact that motive matters. In any sort of a court case or in an arrest, they're constantly looking at the motive of the criminal. Like, why would they have done this crime? Knowing that it shouldn't just be innate that somebody wants to murder somebody or hurt somebody or cause a crime. What's the motive behind it? Now, the motive is not always, it's actually legally irrelevant. It doesn't really matter why they did it. It just matters that they did it. However, motive is always admissible in court. So isn't that interesting? It's legally irrelevant, but it's always admissible. Why would that be? Because it matters. It matters in how believable is this story. Like when we're trying to figure out if this person is guilty or not, if it just doesn't make sense as to why they would have done it, it's hard to figure out that if they really did it, right? So I think that that's one of the pieces that we have to unpack in our own health. When we think about motive, it doesn't, I started writing out kind of what I was going to say today. And motive is the first 1, 2, 3, 4 letters, MOTIV, are the same 4 letters in the word motivation, which makes sense, right? What was somebody's motivation in, committing this crime? What was their motive? They stem from that same word. Now, we also look at motivation as this like burst of energy, the burst of like, I'm going to go and do it. When we're motivated, we're like, yeah, a lot of the times we're motivated to make changes in our health or in our life for certain motives or because of certain motives. Like we have a wedding that we're in, and we are motivated because our motive is that we look a certain way in a dress, right? We are going to therefore do very different based on that motive. Somebody that's got a wedding in 4 months and their motive is to look a certain way in a dress, they are going to do something very different than if somebody is looking to truly embrace long-term health. You just are. So the motive matters because our choices based on the motive actually are related. Now, sometimes, though, they're not. So in that example, if my motive is to look a certain way in a dress, I might do a whole bunch of things for short-term weight loss. There will be, as we know with diets and quick fixes, a long-term consequence to doing that to our body. But if our why, our motive is truly about, I don't really care about what happens to me later, I just care about this now, then we are going to do certain things, right? The motive matters. Now, at the end of the day, you could lose the weight, look a certain way in a dress, and it's just so interesting when if you see that, right, from a point of view, depending on where you are, you could be motivated by that result that you see from someone, right? And the motive of that motivation would be because they look a certain way. Oh, look how good they look. Oh, and there's my motivation to go do something similar. Motive could really make or break our decisions. I would say our thoughts and our beliefs, they dictate our actions. And every time we start working with a client, every single time we get into their why. Why do you want to be here? In fact, we interview them before we even invite them in to work with us because your why matters so much. Now, a lot of people may not be fully there, but we can see they're kind of on the road. And what road are we talking about? Well, let's talk about the concept of getting healthy. It's really a lot of women will talk to us about getting healthy, but what they really mean is I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. The two are very, very different. Getting healthy and losing weight. So when I say we are interviewing women to figure out that they don't have to have their motives as heart driven as we'd like them to be, but they have to be on the road. And one of those questions is, all right, let's say you could lose all the weight that you want to lose and get right to your ideal weight, looking good in your eyes, whatever good means. But you feel like garbage. Like you feel like you don't have energy. You feel like you kind of can't get up in the morning. Like you feel kind of nauseous all the time. Just call it what it is, right? You feel yuck, but you look amazing. Would you be okay with that? It's really interesting when I see women pause and really sit there and go, that's a hard question. You're not on the road. You're not on the path because you're so willing to kind of give up an essential piece of who you are for what you look like. But when we have women that say, no, absolutely, I don't want to feel awful, then we know you're on the road. You're on the road to a motive that is heart driven versus ego driven. Let's dig into that a little bit more. So, motive matters because the same exact behaviors become very different depending on the why. Let's say you go to a gym, right? And you see all these people working out. You see people, anybody in our group, anybody as our clients, eating a certain way. The real question is, why are you at that gym? Why are you eating a certain way? Right? You could have people that are sleeping and you say, okay, like, do you get a lot of sleep? Oh, I get a ton of sleep. But it could be that they are drinking themselves to pass out every night, or that they're depressed and so they find themselves in bed more than they should be. The why behind the sleep matters. The why behind the exercise matters. The why behind the eating matters. It's so interesting because you could literally see 10 people at the gym all doing the same workout, but why they're there changes everything. I used to live in Asia, and in Thailand, when we used to go to Thailand, they actually used to say same, but different. That was the phrase all the time. They had t-shirts. It was just like, if anybody spent any time in Asia, especially Thailand, you could say same, but different. My family and I, my kids and my husband and I, because we live there, we'll joke around and most people don't know what we're talking about. But think about that. Same, but different. That's what happens, though, if your why or your motive is coming from what we call a place of ego versus a place from heart, you're gonna have different results. What? You could have 10 people in a workout class. 5 people are there because they're so stressed about what they look like. They hate their body. They want to lose weight because they feel more comfortable and more confident if they're smaller. They feel their value is in the weight in the scale. They measure themselves. They weigh themselves all the time. Then you've got 5 people in a class knowing that movement is life, that a body that stays in motion, a body that it is in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays at rest, that they know that they want to age slower so that they can actually live longer, better. They want a high quality of life. They love themselves so much that they know they need to show up for themselves. You've got half the people doing it for one reason and half the people doing it for another. Now, in that moment, the workout's the same. Maybe it doesn't matter. Oh, but it does. Because if our thoughts and our beliefs, they dictate our actions, it's going to matter. Just like if you make the decision that you're going to go try to lose weight for a wedding versus trying to get on a truly healthy, balanced lifestyle, what you do actually differs based on what you believe and why you're doing it. So I want you to think about the people that are at the gym with this mindset that my body's no good. I don't like the way I look. I have to look better and different. Then I want you to think about how do they show up in all these other aspects of their life. We talk about an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. When a scarcity mindset is living within you, it's never enough money, never enough of a weight loss, never enough because you feel you are never enough. And so it's not just how you show up at the gym, but then it is how you show up everywhere else. And even more importantly, when life shows up. So let's say you're showing up and your why is because you got to lose weight and you plateau. You're on the scale all the time and you're losing weight and the weight starts to plateau. You freak out. You start doing things that are not necessarily healthy because the weight is so important to you because your motive is actually coming from ego. But when you have a person who's actually their why, their motive is around optimal health, showing up for themselves, regardless of the result, knowing I got to move my body, listening to their body, knowing that if their body feels more inflamed, if their clothes start to get tighter, if they're not sleeping as well, then it's time to shift. But we're listening to our body as opposed to that number on the scale. Because I want to be the healthiest version of myself versus I need to weigh a certain amount. Same exact gym experience, totally different motives. It might look the same from the surface, but it's admissible in court. It matters because of everything else that comes around it. And that little voice in your head means everything to your confidence, to the way you show up, for how long you show up, for how you show up for other people. Your consistency will be directly related to your motives. And here's the biggest thing. When your motives are based on you being the best version of yourself, every single way. And knowing that eating a certain way and moving your body in a certain way will lead you to health, pure, deep health. You go from I can't, I'm not enough, this scarcity mindset to I am. I am a person who actually shows up for myself. I am a person who moves my body because this is who I am. It's not just what I do. And who do I do it for? Am I doing it for you or am I doing it for me? And here's when things got real for me in this process. When I first figured out how to fuel my body in a way that balanced my blood sugar and gave myself the homeostasis, the balance that it had been craving for years and years of dieting, right? Once I learned that, I didn't do a deep dive into my why. In fact, if you had asked me, it was because I felt like I needed to be more confident. I needed to lose weight. I felt like I hated my body. And so that was my motivation for changing the way I ate, for going to the gym. My motive was all based on my ego. It was completely based on ego. And when I started seeing changes in my body, when I started getting leaner, when I started getting stronger, when I was getting all the things I wanted those diets to do, but they didn't, I might have been even more obsessed, more problematic, more of on a struggle bus in this body that I wanted for so long because I almost became more obsessed. My value on one side was the weight on the scale and I was never good enough. But when I met my goals, I felt like everything, all of my success, anybody that looked at me, anybody that talked to me, anybody that respected me only did because of the way I looked. And then that scarcity mindset continued on. So I looked a certain way. I showed up at the gym. I ate exactly the way that I eat today. But my motives were based fully in ego, which made me afraid, which made me honestly unreasonable, which made me selfish, which made me absolutely focus on the wrong things. And it took a lot of self-awareness, self-discovery, learning about who I was, what my personalities were, what my triggers were. But most importantly, why was I doing what I was doing? It hit me when I was at the gym doing double workouts, eating in the way that we teach, getting stronger and leaner, and missing out on valuable time with my family. Actually leaving work early to go to the gym for the second time that day. My motives were not based in health. The pendulum swung. I looked a certain way, but I hadn't changed anything about why it was so important to me. So even though I met my goals, even though I was right where I wanted to be, I wasn't any happier. In fact, I was more miserable. I was scared. I was convinced I had no value except in the way that I looked. And when I started digging in and realizing you are not any happier, even though you are a certain size, why? It hit me like a ton of bricks. Was I coaching women then? Yes. And it hit me that my motives were fully based in ego and not heart. I love that Jeanette Van Leer, who's one of our mindset coaches with our members, is the one that taught me that. And it triggered inside of me a realization of what are you doing, Carrie, and why? My why, where I show up for myself at the gym. And I think about this all the time with the social media. When I show myself working out, it is because I do not need to now lift the heaviest in the room or have to keep going after my own PR. I get obsessed with a personal record when in all reality, that personal record could have actually injured me. I had to get really clear on what I was doing and why I was doing it. Do I still show up at the gym every day? Yes. Do I do double workouts? No. But on the surface, am I showing up? Yeah. Am I eating a certain way? Yeah. It doesn't look that different than it did when I was fully obsessed, but my why has totally shifted. I want to be able to be around in my 80s and 90s with the highest quality of life I could ever imagine. I want to be able to kick a soccer ball with my great grandkids when I'm in my 80s. I want to be able to get up off the floor by myself without needing someone to help me. I want to be able to ensure that my children and my grandchildren do not have the burden of having to take care of me every day. That motivates me more than ever what I looked like. It never fulfilled me when my why was all around ego. But when my why became about heart driven, it's for others so I can do more and serve my purpose. That makes it so much easier to say no to the cake when I'm stressed. That makes it so much easier to wake up in the morning and show up at the gym when I don't feel like it. That gives me absolute motivation more often than not, because I'm not frustrated and scared and driven by what I think people think about me. There is a freedom there to allow me to be who I am, regardless of what you think of me. That is a journey. That is a destination that you never fully get to. But holy cow, as you walk in that direction, it changes everything. So that's what I'm saying. Like, are women on the path towards that direction? Or are you so far off that road? We can tell when we're on a call with you. We can tell when we're interacting with you. Are you ready to go down that path? And if you're not, you're going to have to go around the mountain a few more times until you are. My fear is that you are just so much older and so much further away from where your body and your mind should be, that it's that much harder to get yourself truly on that journey, where then you can use the knowledge to be able to impact others. But motive matters. Everything comes from that. When your motive is from your heart versus from your ego, let me tell you what you get. When you plateau or when you regress, you respond differently. You respond from a mindset of abundance and knowledge and calm versus scarcity. And I'll do whatever I can to be able to change, even if it's not healthy. Your consistency. You will not show up consistently for yourself if you are coming from ego, because at some point you're going to be like, screw it. I don't even care what people think of me. But when you care what you think of yourself, you show up more consistently. And any strong relationship is based on consistency. Think about it. Any relationship with a spouse, any relationship with your kids, any relationship with a friend, it's positive interactions consistently over time, which builds trust. Every relationship is based on trust. The minute you don't have trust, you don't have a strong relationship. You need to have a strong relationship with your body in order for it to show up for you when you need it most, especially as you age. You will not be consistent if your motivation, your motives come from ego. You will show up differently when it comes to your emotional stability. Your emotional stability as a person fully ingrained with the motive of me, the motive of heart versus the motive of what I'm worried about, what you think, allows me to be more stable emotionally. I show up totally differently. Confidence comes from the heart, not from ego. Your expectations of others and of yourself is completely different when you are operating from motives of the heart versus motives of ego. Your interpretation of what's working will change based on whether or not you are solely focused on a motive of optimal deep health versus, and when I say optimal deep health, I do not mean eating perfectly clean and unprocessed foods all the time, because food serves our body and food serves our soul, and we need both. That is balance. When you can do that in a way that allows you to see you are actually looking at all of your markers of progress, you are moving in that direction and have a balance, that is your sweet spot. But when you have the interpretation of what's working being weight loss, how you look, everything around the outside, and not cultivating anything on the inside, then you will have a very skewed interpretation of what it means when something works. Therefore, your response will not be accurate. And finally, your focus on what matters, what gets your time, what gets your attention, what gets you will completely differ based on your motive. If your motive comes from pleasing others, worrying about what others think, versus knowing who you are and responding as such, my goodness, your focus on what matters and what you say yes to, most importantly, what you say no to, will change dramatically. So your motive matters in everything you do. So before you sign up for a gym, before you work with us, before you actually decide, okay, I'm going to do intermittent fasting, I'm going to do keto, first of all, please don't. Remember our 3 rules. 1, is it based in science, designed for your body to thrive? Anytime you put your body at a deficit, nothing thrives. Nothing thrives in a deficit in general, and your body is the same way. So 1, is it based in science, designed for your body to thrive? 2, can you do what you're doing for the rest of your life? Remember, our body relies on consistency, not perfection. So if whatever you choose to do, you can do for the rest of your life, you might think you can give up carbs for the rest of your life. You can't. You might think you can do intermittent fasting for the rest of your life. You can't, because at one point, somebody's going to want you to go out for breakfast and you'll be like, I can't. And 3, would you let your kids do what you're doing? Would you let your kids do intermittent fasting? Would you let your kids do keto, Weight Watchers, a weight loss shot, any of those things? No, because you know it's not healthy. So if you're considering doing that, your first question to yourself is not which one of these diets should I do? It's why am I doing it? And get yourself into what we call your 5 whys. We do this with our clients a lot. Why do you want to lose weight? Oh, because I want to feel more confident. Why do you want to feel more confident? Well, because I feel like right now I don't even want to be in public. Why do you not want to be in public? Well, because I feel like I'm not good enough. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way my clothes fit. Why don't you like the way you look? Because it just sends a message that I'm ugly. And do you see what you're doing? You're getting into your own why. And when you really, really drill down, which is what I did, I realized my why, honestly, was about being the healthiest version of myself. Because if somebody asked me, would you want to be able to lose all the weight and look a certain way, but feel awful? I knew that's not what I wanted. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to feel confident. But even because we know plenty of thinner, smaller people are not there, doesn't mean confidence. And plenty of larger people have confidence. Confidence comes from within. And so we got to get down to what are we doing, but why are we doing it? And is it coming from what we believe other people think of us? Is it coming from what we think we should be looking like so other people can like us? Is it because we are comparing ourselves to others? Remember, there is nobody like you. Your fingerprints tell you that. Speaking of crime scenes, that's the marker of who was in the room when it happened, because your fingerprint is unlike any others. To compare your fingerprint to another would be ridiculous, because we know there are no two alike. So to compare yourself to another is ridiculous, because we know there is no one like you. So you just have to be truly in love with and impressing yourself. You are the only person you are guaranteed to know in 10 years, in 20 years. And do you want to look back and regret the time that you spent focused so much on the wrong motives? Or do you really want to get on the road and recognize that your motives, if they come from the heart, will get you so much further in your health, in your life, and reaching your purpose than ever is where a motive would be around what people think of me. Don't confuse your belief that you have to weigh a certain amount or look a certain way to be able to have confidence with the fact that you want to get healthy. Like, you could say, I really want to get healthy, but what you really mean is, I want to look a certain way. Now, don't get me wrong. When you get to your optimal health, you're going to get to your optimal weight. And it was so interesting because when a prospective client of ours asked one of our clients, I mean, I have like 80 pounds to lose. She said, how do people lose that much weight with you? And what she said was, now I know a different answer to that because people often tell me more than some of our clients realize. But she said, you know what? I don't really know, because nobody really focuses on that as much. I mean, we see pictures of people, they talk so much about like how they've gone down like 6, 7, 8, 10 dress sizes, but weight, we don't really know. But what I do know is that there's a lot of women that come to me, they're like, I got weighed at the doctor's office, or I did step on the scale. And without a doubt, these women, because a byproduct of being healthy is that your body doesn't have to hold on to the visceral fat that it's holding on to. But it's so crazy how that, because their why is so based on who they are, that they've just sort of divorced themselves from that as an accurate measure of who they are. It's incredible when people will come up to them, and I'll never understand why we feel like we can compliment people on what they look like. I don't understand. I just think that we should not be doing that. But that's a whole nother podcast for another day. But when people comment, oh, you look like you've lost weight, or oh my gosh, you look so good, it's like that doesn't even really resonate as much as how good they feel, because they know they're showing up for themselves for the right reasons. Motive matters, you guys. You know, it's always admissible in a court of law. And if it is because it matters, then it matters for you too. So I'd love to hear your takeaway on this. If motive matters, what's your motive? Or if you've evolved in your why, in your motive, just like I have, and that I'm still evolving, share that evolution with us. We want to hear it. Okay. If you want more information, if you are excited to be able to kind of be like, I got to dig into this more, I've scheduled some webinars that you could dig into. You can go to disruptivenutrition.com/training, where I dig more into all of this concept. Or if you want to think about what your next step may be, like, okay, is blood sugar something that really is an issue for me? Our mindset's really tripping me up. I have an interactive quiz that you can take so you can kind of figure out what that looks like for you too. You can go to disruptivenutrition.com/survey. Either way, if you want more information and to dig into one of my trainings, see if I'm doing a training that aligns with your schedule over the next couple of days, and sign up for that. Or you can go do our little interactive survey that you actually interact with me, where I can kind of see where you are and what you need. That's a cool option too. All right. So let me know. Give me your takeaways on how you're thinking about your own motive.